Hey Bookish Besties! So today I had to sit on the floor because we are going to go over some really unhinged theories about the Empyrean series by Rebecca Yarros, Fourth Wing, and Iron Flame. If you've not read those books yet, please go ahead, pause this video. There will be spoilers ahead. You have been warned. Please go ahead, read the books, come back. We're waiting with open arms. For those of you who are fully caught up, grab a little drinky drink, your favorite of course. Get a blanket, get all cozy, because we are going to dive into some theories. So for the Empyrean series, I have two huge theories that I really want to discuss today. First one being Naolin's fate. So we know Naolin, the character who was bonded to Taryn before Violet. From what we're told, Naolin died and Taryn is now open to bonds Violet. Violet will be his last rider. But what if Naolin didn't die? Hear me out. Every time that Taryn talks about Naolin, Naolin is lost. Very rarely does it say that Naolin died. Actually, I don't think Taryn ever says that he's died. He just says that he's lost, not necessarily that he's missing, but just he's not around anymore. And Taryn also cuts down any conversation around Naolin whatsoever. Taryn is very against talking about Naolin and what happened with Naolin. He just wants to move right along. That sounds like a dragon whose pride was hurt because Naolin turned venom. That's right. That is my theory, is that Naolin didn't die. He simply started channeling through the ground and he turned venom. Not only did he turn venom, but he is the sage. The same sage that Violet keeps seeing in all of her dreams. The sage that's kind of the mastermind of the venom that we see in the current series today. So some evidence behind it is that Violet has dreams about this sage. This sage is able to work her way into her mind. How else would he be able to do that unless he was bonded to the same dragon? He's also, the sage, is able to get into Xaden's mind. We see that Xaden had a dream of the sage. Again, how else would he be able to do that unless he was connected through Violet's bond to Taryn? Just saying, it's a little fishy. It's a little fishy. Also, I am fully on the train that Naolin and Brennan were a lot more than friends and they were potentially lovers. There's not too much evidence on this theory besides all of my hopes and dreams, but I do have more theories about Brennan that we'll get into later in this video. Okay, second theory, more of a question, is what is Violet's second signet? There are so many theories around what it could be. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think Violet's second signet is? I think that there are three main possibilities. If any of these three are correct, I will consider myself right. This is a win for me if any of these three are correct. So first and foremost is the Truthsayer. We've seen a little bit of this in Iron Flame. I need to know why Miss Rebecca has a framed napkin of Violet Sorrengail for truth. It doesn't make any sense. I digress. We've seen a Truthsayer before, specifically in the chapter where Violet gets tortured, for lack of better words. So what's interesting is when we see this Truthsayer's power, it's not necessarily pulling the truth from somebody, but it's the ability to tell when someone is not telling the truth. Now, Rebecca did say that we have seen Violet use her signet in Iron Flame, and based on how the Truthsayer and how they use their signet, I didn't see anything remotely close to that from Violet's perspective in a Truthsayer type of signet. Maybe it's a different version of a Truthsayer, which is another one of my theories I will get to. So if it's not Truthsayer, maybe she's a distance wielder. Distance wielders have been around before, but it's been, quote, centuries since anyone's seen one. Now, isn't that a coincidence that Andarna has also been waiting to hatch for about 600 years, aka centuries? So wouldn't it make sense that Andarna's breed of dragon specializes in distance wielding? Keep in mind that Andarna's power is freezing time. If you're familiar with the concept of the Flash from DC Comics, then the Flash is able to run so fast he not only stops time, but he can go back in time. So to me, distance wielding, yes, jumping from place to place, you're moving super quick, super fast, you're moving almost through time. Time is stopped while you're jumping from place to place. These could be connected. We also see Violet training not only to get stronger in Iron Flame, but to get faster. She has a need to be faster, not only to survive, but so her friends can survive. And we know that signets fulfill a need. They're that core of what that person wants and needs at the time, distance wielding. We've seen a couple of examples in Iron Flame where she potentially might have distance wielded. Maybe. The first example is when Xaden is injured in the rebellion attack in Samara. Violet leaves class abruptly because she knows that he's injured. Terran freaks out because Sigel might be injured, so they hop up and they fly to Samara, which is a 12-hour journey. Terran and Violet make that journey in only 8 hours. Now, maybe that's adrenaline, maybe they're just moving super speedy, I don't know, but it's evidence and it's a little fishy. My second piece of evidence comes from the Battle of Basgiath. Violet's on the back of Terran, they're fighting the Venom that's come to Basgiath, and you look over and Sawyer is injured. Violet's like, no, I cannot do this again. I can't lose another squad mate like I lost Liam. She needed to be where Sawyer was to help. And what did she do? She zoomed right over there to be with Sawyer, to the point that Riddick was so shocked. And he's like, how did you get here so fast? Like, where were you? You just appeared out of nowhere. A direct quote from this section is literally, I'm looking over at my notes so I don't get it wrong. Moving so fast, blood seemed to be moving upward. Interesting. Putting that in my little stockpile of information. All right, and then my last theory on what Violet's second signet could be is compelling, compulsion, or some variant of influencing over others. Starting out with in Iron Flame, Xaden is so specific on Violet to ask the right questions. He's only going to tell her the truth if she's asking the right questions of what she actually wants to know. Now, Xaden is very, very known for not telling the whole truth, just telling parts of the truth. So, Violet has to ask the right questions. But what if she has to ask the right questions to compel him to tell him the right answers and the answers that she specifically wants to hear? Her team also are very trustworthy of Violet whenever she has this we gotta go whim, if you will. First scene when Violet tells them, like, hey, this is what's going on. Venom are real. I'm seeking out supplies because Griffin Riders are trying to, survive themselves. And her team is just like, yeah, sounds good. How can we help? Interesting that no one really kind of thought that. But the biggest evidence of this to me was in the end of the book when Violet had this epiphany of we have to go to Basgiath. We gotta get out of here. That's where the battle's gonna happen. No one questioned her. Really, her squad didn't, at least. They were like, yeah, when Violet gets that look in her eye, we just go for it, we just go. Is that look an act of influence or compulsion that is making people do what Violet wants them to do? It's just a little fishy to me. Another example that could be used to persuade the argument of compulsion is when Violet tells Xaden that he has to survive when they split ways at the Battle of Basgiath. And because Xaden has to survive, Violet told him to, he is compelled to survive, he then goes to the ground as a source for his magic, and he becomes Venom because he knew that is the only way he was going to survive that battle. Therefore, Violet compelling him, he became Venom. That one gets messy. And now we're at Basgiath, and the decision has to be made of, do we tell the people what's really going on? And Violet's very much leading the charge, like, we have to give them a choice. We have to tell them, we have to show them. Dane ends up taking the reins and leading the conversation. Was he influenced by Violet to do that, or was that on his own accord? I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, saying it was on accord, but we truly don't know. And then Violet used her own memories to share with the dragons, to share with their writers. Again, using her memory, that could be a way of influencing the answer for these writers who decided to leave and go to Basgiath. Leave Basgiath to go to Orisha. So out of those 3 signet theories, what do you think Violet's signet is? Is it one of those 3? Is it another one that I didn't mention? Please let me know in the comments below. Okay, this next segment are TikTok theories that I've been collecting that I definitely agree with and want to expand a little bit upon. Any TikTok creator that I have found, I will be giving them credit below, so you can go see all of their theories and continue watching the videos, because I don't want to take credit for any of these that I didn't read and create myself. Starting off strong with Aaric Greycastle, could his blue daggertail mate with Andarna, thus connecting Violet, Aaric, and Xaden's minds? Can you just imagine the chaos and the tension if Aaric joined in the little mind meddlingness. And we know that Andarna wants to be like Karen, that's why she's chose the color black for herself. So could she want to mate like Karen's, a blue dagger tail? Along with the Grey Castles is Halden, Violet's ex. Hear me out. Halden is Aaric's older brother. Halden went into the infantry, that was confirmed in Iron Flame. Violet talks about her exes, and her exes are all in the infantry, that's why we haven't seen any in the Riders' Quadrant. There's a moment in Iron Flame when this is brought up, Xaden quickly diminishes the conversation. Violet's not too keen to talk about it, so they just happily move on. When Xaden announces almost to Violet that, hey, by the way, like, I'm kind of king of Orisha, she does have a step back moment where she's like, I don't know if I'm like ready, fit to be queen and in this position of power. It's a little bit of an extreme reaction, but what if it's because she has already dated the crowned prince of Navarre, so she knows she's not fit to rule. She's already had that pressure put on her, so she knows she doesn't want it. All in all, I really just need to see a jealous Xaden. I need to see him crawling on his knees for Violet after what we went through with Cat and Violet. I want to see Violet explore her options, and I would love to see a flipped jealous ex storyline where Zaddy Xaden is the jealous one, because when he is jealous, that tension is just so good. Okay, in all seriousness, who is Violet's father? We don't even have a name except Sorengale, and we know that he's a scribe. We also know that he was studying Feathertails, and very ironically, Violet bonded a Feathertail, the first one to really ever do so. So I think Daddy Sorengale had to have known more than what he lets on. We've pretty much come to terms with the fact that scribes have been hiding the true history for years and years and years, essentially rewriting the narrative to make them look best. So, was Daddy Sorengale part of the problem? Or was he part of the solution, trying to fix what the scribes had essentially broken? What secrets did he know? What was he trying to find out? There's also a scene in Fourth Wing when Violet is walking, it's presentation day. So all of the cadets are walking in, presenting themselves to the dragons, and to make light of the day and the situation, Violet starts telling a story of her childhood. So she's talking about there was a time when they were stationed, I think it was over at the east, and her mom came back with red rimmed eyes. And her Violet's time was a child, and she was like, ha ha ha, Dad, is she gonna turn into a Venin? Joking it off. What if her mom actually was turned Venin? Her dad then had to do so much research to find a cure, so I think her dad knows how to cure a Venin, or at least what needs to be done to cure a Venin, because by the time that we see Mama Sorengale, her eyes aren't red. So either she's suppressing it, or she's cured. But along with the idea that Mama Sorengale has been a Venin at some point in her life, I think that is the sickness and illness that she got while she was pregnant with Violet. That is why Violet has, gray hair, because when she was a Venin, she was channeling the literal life of her child into her. Anyway, crazy theories. And Darna said that she waited 600 plus years for Violet, specifically for Violet, because Violet had the power and the heart of a writer, but the mind of a scribe. We also theorize that Andarna is going to be the key to defeating the Venin. But what if Andarna is so keen on wanting the mind of a scribe because the head of the Venin, this main sage, was a scribe? There needs to be someone who can think like him in order to defeat him, and I think that is going to be Violet. I do not trust Brennan. I don't know what it is about the brother. There is something off about him. It starts out when we have the first quote from the Book of Brennan. One of them is around not trusting all of your friends, because sometimes your friends turn into your enemies. Brennan, who are you talking about? Are you talking about Naolin, perhaps? Somebody else, perhaps? Who's turning into enemies? Also, the fact that he was able to keep himself a secret for 6 years from his family is just also a big giant red flag. And for the cherry on top is that he has an orange dragon. We've seen orange dragons before. Jack Barlow had one. Barish had one. The dragons are known to be chaotic and untrustworthy. Brennan, that is not good company to keep. We know that Imogen's Signet, one of her signets, I think that all of the marked ones have 2 signets, different theory, Imogen's Signet is memory wiping. Yes, there has been times when Imogen has wiped Violet's mind. We don't know them because we're getting the story from Violet's POV. What do you think? Do you think there are any times specifically when Violet has had her memory wipes? I've tried to go back. I can't find it, but I am for sure that it has happened. Rebecca Yarros herself cannot confirm nor deny this. I watched an interview with her and she just sits there like, it's possible. So it's definitely happened. I would love to know your thoughts around this topic. Are there any situations and moments that stick out to you where you're like, she had her mind wiped there? The last theory I'm going to end us on today is a little bit unhinged. It's a little bit wild, a little bit out there, so stay with me. But is Violet the mother of dragons? Giving a little Daenerys coded here. But I say this because Andarna is going to be essentially the head of her 7th den, unless we can find the other dragons. But if you look for all the other dragon riders, all of them have somehow been injured or hurt by their own dragon. Burns and cuts and scrapes, but Karen and Andarna have never touched, they've never laid a finger on Violet at all. It's very untraditional for riders to talk to other dragons, but yet Violet's out here talking to all the dragons, and more importantly, they're listening to her. Dragons don't mess with people. They don't listen to people. Humans' rules have no place in the world of dragons, yet here the dragons are listening to Violet and everything she has to say. Okay, there are so many more unhinged theories. That is where I'm going to stop for today. If you guys want a part 2, I will give you guys one after we read Onyx Storm. I truly just need to know what happens in that book before I can revamp all of these theories. Do you have any theories about the Empyrean series that I didn't share today? Please put them in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe, share this video with anyone who's read the Empyrean series, specifically those who have the most unhinged thoughts. I want to know your unhinged thoughts and theories. I love them. I eat them up like it's birthday cake, and I truly cannot wait for Onyx Storm. We will have so many more theories about where this book series is going to go. And as always, I will see you guys next time.